guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Alpa in case you guys are new here, and today I have my episode 11, which I did actually film already, but then I accidentally one day just deleted the whole footage, so I just decided to film again. This is my first time filming, maybe in the evening time. It's around 5 o'clock. I don't really film this late. Usually it's super early in the morning or mid-afternoon is when I film, so hopefully the lighting is okay for you guys. And yeah, this is going to be the part 1 of my tips and suggestions for anyone who is interested in graduate entry nursing. So this first part is going to be more about, clinicals, what to expect, what equipment to kind of have with you and things like that, and just my overall general tips. So if you're more interested in the academic aspect of it, I will have a part 2 and you guys can go ahead and check that one out as well if you're interested. So the first thing first about clinicals, which I would highly recommend, especially for those of you who will be in an accelerated program and you have a lot of clinical days. You will have 2 to 3 clinical days per week. So one thing which I would highly recommend is actually having a separate clinical bag. I have a tote bag with me, but you can have a backpack, whatever suits you the best, but I have a separate clinical bag versus my lecture bags because it's just easier in the morning when I'm hustling in the morning. And I have all of my equipment and stuff in this clinical bag that I will be talking about, which might be helpful to some of you. Okay, and the second item that I have here for you is this Penlight. And this is actually a Penlight that I purchased from Amazon. I will post a link down below. This is a lot better than the Penlight that I was given to at my school, just because the battery, you can actually change the battery, whereas the other Penlight you couldn't really change the battery. So it just takes, this regular AA, I think. I don't know, but this is the battery that it takes, and it requires 2, but it runs a really long time. I have not changed my battery since my first semester, and I'll be moving on to my 3rd semester eventually. So it is a good quality Penlight, which you will need, to check the pupils of your patients. A lot of people, use their phones instead. I kind of find that tacky, especially for a professional setting. I don't know. I don't really know how I feel about it when people use their phones. I mean, yeah, it does the job, but I feel as a student, it just gives the patient and the faculty members the wrong impression when you're using your phone instead of a actual Penlight. So it's a good one, and I got 2 of them. I actually gave one to my dad, and I would highly recommend it. So talking of badges, you're gonna get a basic badge from your hospital or university or whatever, but I would highly recommend something which moves like this and it claps back on, just because you don't have to take out your badge in order to scan to get into a room. Especially in cases of emergency, you really just want to scan it super duper quickly. You really just don't have the actual time to take it out of your scrubs and just try to scan it when there might be an emergency going on. So I would highly recommend something like this. It's just better and easier to use. The third or fourth thing that I want to talk about is having a clinical notebook. This is not just for, taking notes of your patient, but also using this notebook as a dictionary as well. Every time in clinicals, when I would come across a new term, I would always write it down and just write it in my own words, honestly, after looking it up. So I have a lot of different definitions here which I was not aware of, and yeah, it just was really helpful, because in this career field you're constantly going to keep learning, especially when you're first starting out. you're gonna be thrown out a lot of different acronyms, a lot of different terms, and you're just like, oh my gosh, like what does that mean? So having a notebook like this to write it down is really, really helpful. And you know, even when you're studying, I feel like writing down the terms that you don't know is always really helpful, and it will be very, very beneficial for you in the long run. So I wanted to talk about this textbook in my other video, but I'm gonna briefly mention it because it is a good textbook. And this is the Jarvis's Physical Examination and Health Assessment textbook, and that's what that looks like. I think they come out with a pocket version of this one where they have like a health assessment tool, and I would highly recommend getting that, especially if you are someone who's completely coming from a non-science background. I feel like having that textbook is really gonna, you know, help you fixate where the different parts of the human body are, and just like be easier for you when you're assessing a patient. So it just really helps for a lot of people. A lot of people in my program, they use like a health assessment pocket back version. I'm pretty sure this brand carries it. If not, I will link the other one that I found down in the description box, and I'll also like include a screenshot of it. But yeah, it's a really good tool, especially if, you know, anatomy and stuff like that is not really fresh in your mind. I would highly, highly recommend, you know, checking that pocket version out. Okay, so stethoscope. A lot of people, you know, really, really like the Littmann stethoscopes. They're very, very popular. However, they are a little bit pricey. The stethoscope that I use is actually from a brand called MDF. And again, I will put a screenshot of the MDF brand from Amazon here. I can't really show you. You guys probably know where I already go to school, but I just, for privacy reasons, I don't want to show the back of this because my school gave this to me and the logo is at the back. But it is from the brand MDF. I think you can create your custom, you know, stethoscope logos with them, so that's probably what my school did. But it's a very, very good stethoscope. I have it in the color white. They come with a variety of different colors: pink, red, green, black, if you prefer, you know, simple and sleek. So I would highly recommend it, and it works really, really well. And you want to make sure that your stethoscope, you know, has a diaphragm and a bell. You don't want the one with just a diaphragm. I actually have, if you go on Amazon, if you look up stethoscope, the Amazon basic stethoscope does not have a bell, and you don't want that because, especially for advanced practice, you definitely, actually not even just for advanced practice, any health care professional should have a stethoscope which has both a diaphragm and a bell. But if you go more into advanced practice, and the health assessment that I took was a little bit, you know, advanced compared to something that, you know, BSN students would take. So we had to check for bruits and things like that. So when you're checking for bruits, you're actually using the bell, and you just, you know, check like that. So because you cannot hear when you're using the diaphragm. So I would definitely recommend the MDF brand. Like, it was from Amazon that I remember. It is around $40 to $50, which is still not that bad compared to like Littmann, which is a lot more expensive. And yeah, I will post a link down below, and you guys will thank me for that because it's a really good one. Okay, moving on. I'm looking at my notes here. I will also post a link or a screenshot of this product that I'm about to talk about, and it's from Nursemates, and they are a brand for, you know, nursing student shoes, and I don't know if they make anything else, but I have the Nursemates shoes, and it's very, very comfortable. It does have a little bit of heel, but honestly, I'm able to walk around with it. I have the female version, and I will put a screenshot because I have mine like sitting over there, but it's a little bit, you know, dirty, so I don't really want to show it to you. But it is a very good brand, and like I said, it comes for guys and girls, so would highly recommend that one. It's very important that you invest in a good shoe brand because you guys, you're gonna be on your feet. I do wear white scrubs because it is the requirement for our school to have us wear white scrubs, which kind of sucks, you guys, especially as a female, because the scrubs that I have is very see-through. And if you are a female and you happen to have to wear, you know, white scrubs, I would recommend like wearing a beige color or nude color underwear underneath it, because that way you're just not flashing the world, you know. Like, don't wear a bright pink bra or an underwear from Victoria's Secret, you know, when you're wearing full white scrubs. So that's kind of common sense, but there are some people who have worn like super bright, you know, undergarment, and they're walking around the hospital and you can see everything, you know, and it's just not appropriate, just not professional. So just make sure to do that. Same thing for guys, like they also have to wear, you know, white scrubs. But one thing which you can do to cover up a little bit more is like either have a cardigan of a color that is allowed from your school. Like my school, it will be like dark blue or like navy blue. And you can also wear like an undershirt. I would highly recommend that you have, you know, either a cardigan or a undershirt, like a full sleeved undershirt. You can wear half sleeve, whatever you prefer, but I would just recommend having an undershirt because it gets super duper cold in hospitals. If you are familiar with like working in a hospital or like being a patient yourself, you know the rooms get excessively cold, and I don't exactly know what the reasoning for it is, but it gets really cold. And I always have a navy blue cardigan with me, or like I'm wearing an undershirt, like a full sleeved one, especially underneath the one that I have one size larger. So I have one larger scrub where I can wear something underneath, and then I have one medium sized one, which is what I normally wear, and that's where I can wear like the cardigan, you know. So just be mindful of that. Like, it does get cold, and I would highly recommend like an undershirt or a cardigan. Okay, moving on to some other important things. Now, this is the drug book, Drug Guide for Nurses by Davis, is what I have, and this was actually required by my school. They do have an app version of it, but honestly, it just really depends on how strict your clinical policy is about you using your phone. I try not to use them because they kind of tell us not to use them because it just gives a bad impression, I guess, you know, that we're on our phone, so we're like texting somebody, whereas in reality we might be like looking something up. But sometimes you just have to have, you know, books with you just to look at things, and some nurses station will have drug guides. Like, I've seen them a couple of times. And also like the EMR, like depending on what school you go to or like where you're doing your clinicals, I should say, you might have all of the drug guides in the EMR. So I used to carry it before I switched hospital and I go to the closer hospital, and the closer hospital has a whole different EMR system, and they have all of the drug guides, you know, in the EMR, whereas the other hospital which was using Epic, I didn't really see a drug guide, not as detailed as the one that we use at the hospital that I do my clinicals, or did my clinicals my second semester. So would highly recommend this drug book. And then I also have another product to talk about, and this is the Oxford Concise Medical Dictionary. I was recommended to this one. I think my dad recommended. Yeah, my dad recommended this one. I do like it. Fairly easy read and talks about most updated, you know, medical terms for sure. And also, like, really, you will see a lot of like really old acronyms which shouldn't really be used, still be used in medicine, and sometimes you're like, what the heck, you know. And instead of my phone, I will just use this, and I really do like this dictionary, and I'm glad that I got this because it's super duper important to have a medical dictionary with you, especially if you want to like keep growing in your career field. I just feel like it's important to have a medical dictionary so you don't have to carry it at all times. I mean, I just do because I have a big bag and it's honestly not even that heavy. I don't really carry the drug book, but I do carry this book with me. So again, this is the Oxford Concise Medical Dictionary, and this is the Davis's Drug Guide for Nurses. Really good, all alphabetical, and I really like this book as well. And the drug book was required by my medical surgical class. I'm sorry if the camera shaked a little bit. It's because I like put some stuff on top of the table and that tends to happen. Okay, now I'm gonna move on to some other stuff, I guess, which might be, well, most of these are important. So obviously, like eating something in the morning, like I would recommend eating something in the morning because it's just important, you guys, to have some energy when you get there at the hospital. It's early in the morning. It's like at 6:30, 6:45. Usually you will have to meet your clinical instructor, and depending on your situation, you might be living close to the hospital, you might not be, you might have to commute, you know. So just eating something in the morning is important because you are going to be on your feet, you're going to be on the computer a lot as well, charting and things like that. Especially like the first semester, like when you're getting used to things, like try to eat. It's just super duper important. Even if it's like something as having a fruit in the morning or a granola bar. I don't expect you to like make a full on heavy American breakfast with omelet, eggs and everything. So you don't have to do that. Just eat like a fruit or granola bar and have some coffee if you like coffee, or tea or whatever keeps you a little bit, you know, awake in the morning. So that's super duper important. Another thing which I would recommend is actually carrying a Sharpie. I just have a basic black Sharpie, but you can get, you know, like the smaller kind which you can hang on your ID badge. I would highly recommend having one because sometimes you will actually have to write on a dressing change or something like that, and I've had those situations where I actually had to use like a Sharpie to put my initials and put the dressing changes date. So it's date, initial, and I'm forgetting the other one. Maybe once I remember it, I'll just put it when I'm editing it, but I'm pretty sure it's initial and date of when you put it. Definitely very important to carry a Sharpie. Another thing which I would recommend to you guys, especially like I said, if a lot of you might not have a science background, right? So it's super duper important for you to like review your anatomy and phys a little bit, mostly anatomy, at least when you're first starting off, because obviously, you know, you will be doing a full head to toe assessment on your patient. It's not just about passing drugs, it's also about watching out for anything going wrong with the patient, to like really just calm down and calm him down as well and call for help. So it's just super duper important to, you know, like keep checking on your patients, especially checking the dressings and everything. And that's why it's super duper important to like review your anatomy. One anatomy review type of product which I would recommend is this Anatomy Flashcards by Baron, and it's the second edition. I mean, I just have this because someone actually gave it to me when they were in nursing school and I was in undergrad considering, nursing. So I'll show you how these flashcards work. This is a really good product for anyone going into healthcare and is wanting to quiz themselves, whether you're, a PA student or a medical student. So it kind of just has them but numbered, and then all of the parts are in the back. Of course, you don't need to know like the super duper detail of cardiac anatomy or anything unless you're going into cardiac nursing. You might not even have to review many of that, but like just basic heart parts and basic areas which you will be assessing, knowing the different veins, the different pulses, where you would find them. Those types of things, are very important to just review a little bit beforehand, if I'm making any sense. Hopefully I'm making some sense. Another thing which I would highly recommend is having your lunch packed, especially if you're someone who doesn't really like eating out. I personally don't like eating out because the food at the hospital can be a little bit too expensive, and I'm just like, I just need to pack lunch every single day or every time, whether I'm going to clinicals or lectures. I just try not to eat on campus as much. So I would pack my lunch the night before, and just that way you're not rushing in the morning, especially when in the morning you're like half asleep. I mean, I'm a morning person and I still sometimes have a hard time early in the morning for clinicals, and I would highly recommend that you pack your lunch in the evening just so that the flow is a little bit better in the morning. Okay, you guys, I'm totally doing this vlog style, but I completely forgot to mention this one product. It's very basic. It is a Casio watch that I ended up getting either from Amazon or Walmart. It was around $8 or $10. I used to have an expensive medical watch. By medical watch, I mean a watch which actually has military time on it. You can get that as well. I somehow lost mine, so I just got that one. So one thing which is unique about this, or any watch really, has a second ticking hand is what it's called, I believe, and that's just the second hand that it has, other than the two others that is there. But basically you want something where you can time your vitals, and that's what they require, and that's probably what they mean by that. You will see that in the documents when they say like a watch with a second hand, and I was so confused when they said that, but actually what they meant was a regular watch. This is by Casio. Like I said, I will post a link down below. I know a lot of people don't carry watches or wear watches. You can wear your Fitbit if you want to, but if you're not allowed to, you can just go ahead and get this one. This is fairly affordable. Obviously it's unisex, so anyone can wear it. Okay, I guess we're still doing vlog style even now, and right now I just have here in front of me this manual blood pressure that I actually got from Amazon. It works fairly good. One of my friends actually borrowed this from me, but I would highly recommend getting one for yourself, you guys, just because you kind of need to be able to do this, even though in clinicals majority of you will not use this when you're assessing your patient, but what you will use is a machine, and before you can do the machine you do need to learn how to do this. The machine is super duper easy, but it's not always accurate. There are situations where you will be told to take a manual blood pressure when the other one just doesn't work. When you're in like a cardiac floor or something like that with a hypertension patient, you might have to do a manual blood pressure. I've had instances where a provider might come to you and ask you to take a manual blood pressure if it is your patient, of course. And yeah, there might be instances like that. So it is super duper important for any healthcare student to know how to take manual blood pressure. Another thing which I think it's kind of important is to carry maybe 2 to 3 pens at max. I don't know if you're a pencil person or you're a pen person. Pen preferably, because you will be, you know, like I said, if you don't have a Sharpie, you might have to put something down. Then you want to use a pen, you know, and not a pencil. So I would highly recommend having 2 to 3 pens. And lastly, you guys, please don't break HIPAA. If you happen to take a document home with you which belongs to the patient's, you know, privacy stuff, just go back and shred it. Don't share this information with anyone. And it's just super duper important because, you know, some hospitals, they will let you like print out like the patient information for you as a provider or as a nurse, and everything is on there from, you know, HPI to past medical history and everything, and address, and, you know, all of the personal stuff that not everyone should know. And it's just super duper important that you shred those documents before you leave. I know some people have taken them accidentally, just not thinking, because they're so, you know, tired from clinicals and they just want to leave. And it's just important that you shred them before you leave. And if you need the notes from those documents, obviously write it down in your notebook. Do it in a separate piece of paper. As long as you don't have like the identification of the patient, that is, you know, allowed, and that is considered okay if you're not using any name, anything personal really about the patient. So just making sure that you actually shred the document is super duper important. So I hope this video was somewhat helpful. I think I'm gonna film the part 2 like this weekend. Hopefully I'll upload it next week because I'm just a little bit tired. Today has been a super duper gloomy day here in Ohio, and it's pouring. Honestly, I swear Midwest has a monsoon season, they just don't call it. So it's not technically summer in my opinion, because it's honestly not really that warm. Like, it's not in the 80s or 90s even. So it's been mainly in like the low 50s to mid 60s these past couple of days. So thank you so much, you guys, for watching. It seriously means a lot. Please keep your eye out for part 2, and talk to you guys later. Bye.